When emotions run high and you feel hurt or frustrated, it's tempting to just block him on your phone or social media and be done with it. It feels like a quick fix, like cutting a rope to stop the pain from pulling you further. But here's the truth. Blocking someone doesn't give you closure. It's actually a form of avoidance. When you block him, you're not really resolving anything inside yourself. You're just shutting down communication before the emotional story has been fully told, before you've had a chance to understand what happened or why it hurt so much. Think about it. Closure comes from understanding, from processing your feelings, and from gaining clarity about the relationship or situation. It's a deep internal process where you make peace with what was and decide how you want to move forward. Blocking skips all of that. It cuts off the possibility of communication, but it doesn't heal the wounds or answer the questions you have. You might feel relief in the short term because you don't have to see his messages or posts anymore, but underneath that relief, confusion, and unresolved emotions can linger. That's a dangerous place to be because what's unresolved tends to keep pulling you back, whether it's to check his profile, wonder what he's doing, or replay moments in your head. When you block him, you're effectively hiding from your feelings and the reality of the situation. You're not confronting what happened or your role in it. And this isn't about blaming yourself. It's about recognizing that emotional growth comes from facing discomfort, not running from it. It's uncomfortable, but you have to sit with your feelings. Ask yourself the tough questions and get curious about why you're hurt and what you truly want. That's where real closure begins. Another thing to consider is how blocking can sometimes create an unhealthy power dynamic. It puts all the control in your hands, but in a way that leaves things unfinished. It can provoke confusion, frustration, or even anger on his side. And while you might want him to regret losing you, this tactic often backfires because it doesn't show your strength or confidence. Instead, it can make you seem reactive, unpredictable, or emotionally overwhelmed. Regret isn't sparked by being blocked. It's sparked by watching someone live well without you, someone who's clear about their worth and not desperate for attention. Instead of blocking, what if you use that moment as a chance to practice emotional maturity? What if you decided not to run away, but to set boundaries that protect your peace without completely shutting him out? This means choosing when and how to communicate, deciding how much energy you invest, and recognizing when it's healthy to step back and when it's better to engage. This approach allows you to stay in control of your feelings and the situation. It gives you time and space to heal, reflect, and grow, which is what real closure looks like. So next time you feel the urge to block him in the heat of the moment, pause. Blocking might feel like a quick escape, but real freedom comes from doing the work, facing the emotions, and choosing your peace on your own terms. When it comes to protecting yourself emotionally after a difficult situation with a guy, it's tempting to think that blocking him online or cutting off all communication is the best way to keep yourself safe. But here's the catch. What you really need isn't a digital wall that shuts him out completely. It's emotional boundaries that you create and maintain with intention and clarity. Emotional boundaries are the real tools for protecting your well-being, and they're much more powerful than simply blocking or disappearing. Blocking is like putting up a brick wall in front of a window. It stops things from coming in, but it also cuts off light and fresh air. It's a very one-dimensional, reactive way to handle emotions. Emotional boundaries, on the other hand, are more like having a gate you control. You decide who comes in, when, and under what conditions. It's about being clear with yourself and with him about what's acceptable and what isn't, so you maintain your peace without necessarily burning bridges or shutting off all possibility of future interaction. Boundaries aren't about punishment or control. They're about respect. Respect for your feelings, your time, and your energy. Think about it like this. When you block someone, you remove their access to you entirely, but you also remove your own access to processing what's happening. You deny yourself the chance to respond thoughtfully, to express your feelings, or to make decisions from a place of calm and power. Instead, boundaries encourage you to pause, evaluate, and decide what's healthy for you in the moment. Maybe it's not responding to every message or setting limits on how often you engage. Maybe it's telling him directly what you need. I need space right now, or I don't want to talk about this today. These are boundaries that protect you emotionally while keeping the door open to clarity and resolution. When you establish emotional boundaries, you're also teaching him how to treat you. You're showing him that you respect yourself enough not to tolerate disrespect, inconsistency, or confusion. This in turn helps build your self-confidence, because when you know where you stand and you don't let anyone overstep, you're in control of your emotional life, not him. That's where real power comes from. Another thing to consider is how boundaries help you avoid unnecessary drama and emotional exhaustion. Blocking someone can sometimes escalate feelings of resentment or confusion, especially if it's done impulsive. But clear boundaries reduce misunderstandings and allow you to keep your dignity intact. You're not shutting down your feelings, you're managing them responsibly. Remember, emotional boundaries are flexible and personal. They don't mean you're cold or uncaring. They mean you value yourself enough to create a safe emotional space where you can heal and grow. And when you do this consistently, you don't just protect yourself, you also invite healthier, more respectful relationships in the future. So instead of rushing to block him, take a moment to set boundaries that protect your heart and mind. This way, you stay in control, maintain your peace, and keep your power without cutting yourself off from the chance to heal and move forward with confidence. When a relationship ends or hits a rough patch, the instinct might be to go silent, to stop responding, to disappear, to hope that by being quiet, you somehow send a message or make him realize what he's lost. But here's the thing, silence isn't always gold. In fact, silence can sometimes be misinterpreted as weakness, confusion, or uncertainty. If you want to truly make an impact, if you want him to regret losing you, what matters most isn't just that you're silent, but how you carry yourself during that silence. Self-respect is like an internal light that shines through in everything you do, whether you're speaking or not. It's visible in your posture, your tone, your choices, and most importantly, in how you refuse to settle for less than you deserve. When you respect yourself, you don't need to chase or beg for his attention. You don't need to resort to playing games or being mysterious just for the sake of it. Instead, you carry yourself with a quiet confidence that says, I know my worth, and I won't compromise it. This kind of self-respect is far more powerful than any dramatic silence or ghosting. Because when you disappear without explanation, he might be left confused or even think you're acting out of hurt or desperation. But when you maintain your dignity, when you choose to respond thoughtfully or decide not to respond at all with purpose rather than impulse, you are demonstrating that your value doesn't depend on his approval or presence. That is magnetic. Moreover, self-respect influences how you set boundaries and communicate. It means you don't accept disrespect, you don't tolerate being treated as an option, and you don't allow yourself to be drawn into emotional chaos. Instead, you're calm, clear, and consistent. You communicate what you need, you walk away from what no longer serves you, and you invest your energy in the parts of life and relationships that uplift you. People are naturally drawn to confidence and integrity. When you embody self-respect, you don't have to say much. Your actions and demeanor speak volumes. He will notice how you've maintained your composure, how you've chosen peace over drama, and how you've stayed true to yourself even when things got messy. That's what makes someone unforgettable. Oh no. Importantly, self-respect isn't about being cold or indifferent. It's about caring for yourself enough to not lose your sense of self in someone else's story. It means being kind to yourself, setting healthy emotional limits, and making decisions that honor your worth. When you do that, you're not only protecting yourself, but also setting a standard for how others should treat you. So if you want him to regret losing you, don't just go silent and hope for the best. Instead, cultivate self-respect. Let it guide your actions and your silence alike. Carry yourself with pride, protect your peace, and show through your strength and integrity that you're a woman who knows her value. And that's something no one can take away. When emotions run high in any relationship, especially after a breakup or conflict, the immediate reaction can be to hold on tighter, to text more, call more, or seek reassurance. But sometimes the most powerful thing you can do is create space. Creating space doesn't mean you're giving up or shutting the door forever. It means stepping back thoughtfully, allowing both you and him room to breathe, reflect, and gain perspective. This space is essential because when emotions are intense, it's almost impossible to think clearly or make decisions based on what's truly best. Both of you are likely operating from a place of hurt, confusion, or pride, which clouds judgment. By intentionally pulling away, you remove yourselves from the heat of the moment. You stop reacting impulsively and start allowing the reality of the situation to settle in. For you, this space is a gift. It's a chance to reconnect with yourself, to evaluate what you really want and need from a relationship. It's an opportunity to heal any wounds, regain your confidence, and prioritize your own growth. Instead of chasing him or trying to control the outcome, you're focusing on becoming your best self. This is incredibly attractive because it sends the message that your happiness doesn't depend on his presence or approval. It comes from within. For him, space offers something equally important. When you're always available or responding immediately, it's easy for someone to take your presence for granted. But when you create distance, it forces him to pause and think. It makes him aware of what he's missing. It gives him a moment to reflect on his own feelings, his actions, and the role he played in the situation. Without that space, he might never fully grasp the value of what he had or what he's lost. Importantly, creating space isn't about playing games or manipulation. It's not about making him jealous or trying to make him chase you. It's about honoring your own emotional needs while respecting his ability to process the situation on his own. It's a mature, responsible choice that benefits both parties, even if it doesn't immediately feel comfortable. One of the most common mistakes people make is confusing space with silence that leads to total disconnection. But space can be a healthy pause, not a permanent goodbye. It allows for clarity, honest communication later on, and a more grounded understanding of the relationship's future. Sometimes with this breathing room, what once felt urgent and overwhelming becomes clearer and calmer, and both of you can make decisions that honor your growth and happiness. Remember, the goal of creating space is not just to make him regret losing you, but to make yourself stronger, wiser, and more self-aware. Because when you come from a place of self-respect and emotional health, you don't just invite reflection, you inspire it. Reflection, you inspire it. And that's the foundation for either reconnecting on better terms or moving on with peace and dignity. So instead of holding on too tight or shutting down completely by blocking, choose space. Let yourself and him breathe. Give the situation time to unfold naturally. This is how you reclaim your power and show that your worth isn't tied to immediate attention. It's built on patience, self-awareness, and emotional strength. It's so easy to fall into the trap of thinking that your worth depends on how much attention a guy gives you. When someone you care about pulls away, ignores you, or seems distant, it can feel like your value is shrinking right before your eyes. But here's the truth you need to hear. Your value is not tied to his attention, approval, or validation. It never was, and it never will be. Your value is inherent. It comes from who you are as a person, your qualities, your passions, your kindness, your intelligence, your integrity. None of these things depend on whether a particular person notices them or not. When you base your self-esteem on his attention, you hand over your power to someone else. You make your emotional state dependent on forces you can't control. That's not strength. That's vulnerability in the wrong place. Think about it like this. When you rely on someone else's attention to feel worthy, you become reactive. You chase after messages, you analyze every word or silence, and you end up feeling anxious or desperate. This cycle doesn't just hurt your confidence, it damages your sense of identity. Instead of being centered in yourself, you're constantly looking outward for approval. And that's exhausting. Real strength comes from grounding your self-worth internally. It means knowing that you deserve respect, love, and happiness because of who you are, not because of what someone else decides to give you. When you truly believe this, you stop competing for attention or trying to prove your value. You stop shrinking yourself to fit someone else's expectations or timeline. This doesn't mean you don't want connection or affection. Of course you do. But the difference is in the foundation. You want connection because you are whole and confident on your own, not because you need it to feel whole. That shift changes everything. It allows you to engage with relationships from a place of choice, not need. And it means that if someone fails to see your value, it's their loss, not a reflection of your worth. When you live with this mindset, you begin to invest your time and energy differently. You prioritize your goals, your growth, and your happiness. You surround yourself with people who uplift and respect you. You become selective about who you give your emotional energy to. And you become someone who naturally attracts respect and admiration because your confidence shines through. Here's another thing. When you stop tying your value to his attention, you stop playing emotional games or seeking validation through drama. You don't feel the need to respond immediately or chase after him. Instead, you create space and set boundaries because you understand that your peace is more important than temporary reactions. That kind of calm, steady self-assurance is magnetic. It's what makes someone unforgettable. So if you want him to regret losing you, start by remembering this. Your worth isn't up for negotiation. It's not something you need to prove or fight for. It's already inside you, waiting to be embraced. When you stand firm in your value, independent of anyone else's attention, you don't just survive heartbreak, you thrive beyond it. And that's the kind of woman no one forgets. When emotions are running high, it's tempting to react immediately. Send that angry text, block him, or lash out in frustration. But impulsive decisions rarely lead to the outcomes you actually want. In fact, they often create more confusion, more pain, and sometimes even regret. Strategic communication is what separates someone who stays in control from someone who lets their emotions control them. It's a powerful tool you can learn and use to protect your peace and your dignity. Impulsive decisions are emotional reactions made in the heat of the moment. When you're hurt or angry, your brain wants quick relief, an immediate way to express how you feel. But that quick relief can come at a cost. Sending a message you don't fully mean, blocking without thinking, or responding to a situation with raw emotion can escalate conflict rather than resolve it. You might feel good for a moment, but later you can look back and wish you had handled it differently. Strategic communication, on the other hand, is about pausing, reflecting, and choosing your words and actions with intention. It's about understanding that how you say something matters just as much as what you say. When you communicate strategically, you give yourself space to process your feelings before responding. You ask yourself, what outcome do I want here? How can I express my feelings clearly and respectfully without burning bridges or losing my self-respect? This kind of communication requires emotional intelligence. It means recognizing your triggers and managing your impulses. It means resisting the urge to reply immediately when you're upset and instead waiting until you're calm. When you communicate from a place of calm confidence, your message is heard more clearly and it creates space for understanding rather than defensiveness. It's also important to recognize the power of timing. Sometimes the best response is no response at all, at least for a while. Giving both yourself and him time to cool down can prevent misunderstandings and unnecessary drama. When you do decide to engage, make sure it's on your terms, when you're ready and when you feel clear about what you want to say. Another key part of strategic communication is setting clear boundaries. Instead of cutting off contact abruptly or ghosting, you can express what you need in a straightforward way. For example, saying, I need some time to think and focus on myself right now, or I'm not comfortable discussing this today, let's talk later. These statements are simple but powerful because they communicate respect for both your feelings and his without shutting down the conversation entirely. By choosing strategic communication over impulsive reactions, you maintain control of your emotional narrative. You show that you're someone who can handle difficult situations with grace and maturity. And this isn't just about managing the other person. It's about honoring yourself. You're telling yourself, I deserve to be heard, but I will also hear myself. I will respond thoughtfully, not react impulsively. In the end, strategic communication builds your confidence and your emotional resilience. It allows you to protect your peace, keep your dignity intact, and create relationships that are based on respect and understanding. So next time you feel the urge to block or lash out, take a breath, pause, and choose your words with intention. That's the kind of strength that makes someone unforgettable. And that's how you make him regret losing you. After a breakup or any kind of emotional hurt, the first instinct is often to focus all your energy on what he's doing, how he's feeling, or how you can make him realize what he's lost. But the most powerful move you can make isn't about him at all. It's about you. Healing yourself first is the strongest comeback you can give, and it's the foundation for anything positive that comes next in your life. Healing means more than just moving on or pretending everything is okay. So it means actively working on your emotional, mental, and sometimes even physical well-being. It means taking the time to understand what you've been through, acknowledging your feelings, and making choices that help you grow stronger. When you heal yourself, you're not just getting over a relationship. You're becoming the best version of yourself. One of the biggest mistakes people make is trying to heal while still chasing the other person's attention or approval. That's like trying to fix a broken bone by repeatedly hitting it. Hitting it. True healing requires space from the source of pain, which often means stepping back emotionally, mentally, and sometimes physically. This space allows you to process what happened without distraction or pressure. It gives you time to rediscover who you are outside of the relationship. Healing yourself first also means rebuilding your self-esteem and confidence. You do this by setting new goals, engaging in activities that bring you joy, and surrounding yourself with supportive people who lift you up. It's about nurturing yourself, whether that's through exercise, therapy, journaling, or simply spending time alone to reflect. Each small step you take reinforces your worth and independence. When you prioritize healing, you're sending a powerful message to yourself and to others. Your happiness doesn't depend on someone else's presence or validation. You're showing that you're strong enough to stand on your own 2 feet and that your life is full and meaningful, regardless of anyone else's involvement. This strength is magnetic. It naturally draws people toward you, including the one who lost you. Moreover, healing yourself first helps you avoid repeating old patterns. When you take the time to reflect and grow, you gain clarity about what you want and what you won't accept in future relationships. You develop healthier boundaries and a stronger sense of self-respect. This means that when you're ready to move forward, you do so from a place of strength and wisdom, not desperation or fear. It's important to remember that healing is not linear. There will be good days and tough days, but every moment you choose to prioritize yourself is a victory. The strongest comeback isn't about making him regret you with words or actions. It's about showing up as your best self, healed and whole. So instead of focusing on him or what he might be thinking, focus on you. Invest in your healing journey, because that is where your true power lies. When you heal yourself first, you don't just survive heartbreak, you thrive beyond it. And that's the kind of strength that no one forgets. Confidence isn't something you're born with. It's something you build, nurture, and show to the world. When you're going through a tough emotional phase, especially after a breakup or feeling neglected, it's easy to let your confidence take a hit. You might start doubting yourself, questioning your worth, or wondering if you're good enough. But here's the truth. Confidence is the ultimate attractor, and it's the most powerful way to make him regret losing you, not because you're trying to make him jealous, but because you're standing tall in your own light. Confidence is not about arrogance or pretending to be someone you're not. It's about knowing your value deeply and acting from that place of self-assurance. When you're confident, you don't need to chase validation or approval from others, especially not from him. You don't waste energy on trying to control the situation or on worrying about what he thinks. Instead, you focus on yourself, your goals, your passions, your happiness. One of the reasons confidence is so magnetic is that it signals emotional stability. People are drawn to those who are steady, who know who they are, and who aren't dependent on external factors for their happiness. When you show up with confidence, you're essentially telling the world, I am enough as I am. That kind of energy can't be ignored. And it makes you unforgettable. Confidence also gives you the strength to set boundaries and say no without guilt. You're clear about what you want and what you won't tolerate. You don't settle for less than respect and kindness because you respect yourself enough to demand it. This clarity and self-respect make others see you in a new light, including him. He'll notice that you're no longer the person who waits for his attention. You're someone who lives fully on her own terms. Building confidence isn't about ignoring your feelings or pretending everything's perfect. It's about embracing who you are, flaws and all, and choosing to show up authentically anyway. When you do this, you release the need for external validation, and that's incredibly liberating. You stop playing emotional games and start living a life that feels true and fulfilling to you. Another important aspect is that confidence allows you to recover from setbacks more quickly. Instead of dwelling on rejection or disappointment, you see them as opportunities to learn and grow. You understand that your worth doesn't decrease because someone else can't see it. This resilience makes you stronger, more attractive, and far less likely to be pulled into unhealthy emotional cycles. Ultimately, confidence is about being the best version of yourself because you love and value who you are, not because you want to prove anything to him or anyone else. When you carry this kind of confidence, you don't need to block or push away to be noticed. You naturally draw people in with your presence, your energy, and your unapologetic self-love. So if you want him to regret losing you, focus on building your confidence. Invest in yourself, celebrate your wins, and stand tall in your worth. Confidence isn't just attractive, it's irresistible, and it's the foundation for the kind of love and respect you truly deserve. When a relationship ends or becomes complicated, it's natural to replay his mistakes over and over in your mind. You think about what he did wrong, where he failed you, and how he hurt you. It's easy to get stuck in that cycle because it feels like holding on to those thoughts will somehow protect you or justify your pain. But the truth is, focusing on his mistakes won't help you move forward. It will only keep you tied to the past and drain your energy. The most powerful choice you can make after a breakup or any emotional setback is to shift your focus away from what he did wrong and toward your own growth. This doesn't mean ignoring your feelings or pretending the hurt wasn't real. It means deciding that your next chapter is about becoming stronger, wiser, and more fulfilled, regardless of what happened before. When you focus on growth, you start to see challenges as opportunities. You ask yourself, what can I learn from this experience? How can I use this to become a better version of myself? This mindset shifts you from a victim mentality to one of empowerment. Instead of being stuck in bitterness or regret, you begin to create a future that excites you, one where your happiness doesn't depend on him or anyone else. Growth also means investing in yourself in ways that build confidence and resilience. This positive focus not only helps you heal, but also radiates confidence and peace, qualities that others notice and admire. It's this inner calm and strength that make you unforgettable. Importantly, when you let go with grace, you leave space for him to reflect on what he lost. You don't chase or pressure him. Instead, you create a quiet but powerful absence. This absence gives him the chance to realize the value of what he had and the impact of losing you. Often, regret doesn't come from loud protests, but from the silent, steady presence of someone who walked away with dignity. In the end, letting go gracefully is one of the most empowering things you can do. It shows that you value yourself enough to step away from anything that doesn't serve your happiness and growth. It's a statement that your life is bigger than any one relationship and that your peace of mind matters most. So if you want him to regret losing you, start by letting go gracefully. Be kind, be strong, and be true to yourself. That kind of strength leaves an impression that lasts far longer than any argument or fight ever could. Remember, the real power in any relationship, and especially when it feels like you're losing someone, is not in blocking, chasing, or reacting impulsively. It's in the way you carry yourself through the process. When you choose to value yourself first, communicate with intention, and focus on your growth, you become unstoppable. Healing yourself, building genuine confidence, and letting go with grace aren't just ways to cope. They're the ultimate comeback. By doing this, you don't just make him regret losing you. You transform into someone who no longer needs anyone's validation to feel whole and fulfilled. And that is the kind of strength and presence that draws people in naturally, commands respect, and changes the game entirely. So instead of blocking him, do this instead. Invest in yourself, set clear boundaries, communicate strategically, and above all, nurture your own happiness. Because when you do, not only will he regret losing you, but you'll know you never lost yourself. That is true power. That is your power. That is your power.